Live look at the Brady briefing room at the White House, where we're expecting Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to give an update on Operation Epic Fury in about 20 minutes or so. This comes as President Trump dismissed reports that the United States could seize enriched uranium from an underground site near Iran's capital. He told the New York Post, quote, "We haven't made any decision on that. We are nowhere near it." Retired Navy Captain and former Pentagon official Brent Sadler, Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow, joins us now. Brent, good to have you with us this afternoon. So the president has said that there's not been any action decided on the enriched uranium that may still reside in Iran, but he did suggest that the war is, for the most part, completed. Listen to what he said.
We're achieving major strides toward completing our military objective. And some people could say they're pretty well complete. So now we have low-cost interceptors effectively combating Iranian drones. We're also annihilating the manufacturing base that the regime uses to build drones and missiles at a rate that nobody thought was possible. We're knocking them out.
So if, as the president says, the military action is pretty well complete, what is left in your mind to do?
Well, I think the big thing right now, and the operations already apparently are shifting to it, is to go after the centers of gravity or the power centers of the IRGC that's continuing to prop up this regime. And I think maybe even after that, to start going more directly after them on the street to try to provide an opening for the Iranian people to begin taking back their country. What's still kind of left is for a unifying leader or elements to start to galvanize the Iranian people to push back against the regime. And I think this is the big question of how soon will that occur.
Iran keeps doing what it does best, Brent, and that is talking tough, keep threatening retaliation. But they've been pretty much defanged when you take a look at the fact that their missile strikes, or missile launches at least, have been reduced by about 90%. Their drone capability to about the same. They don't have a whole lot left with which to make good on their threats.
Yeah, other than a little bump, I guess, on the International Women's Day on their drone attacks on the 8th of March, it's largely atrophied to very low levels, an indication that the strikes by the U.S. and the Israelis are having an effect to degrade the ability for the Iranians to launch these attacks. And again, if the Straits of Hormuz are still threatened, you can expect a more focused series of attacks against coastal batteries, and if there's any remnants of the small fast boat threat from the IRGC that could threaten the shipping.
You know, a big topic of discussion, we just had it with Mohammed Al-Arian, of course, is the price of gasoline, the price of oil. There is some suggestion, and apparently President Trump may be entertaining this, of putting American forces on the ground at Kharg Island. I want to just put up an animation, show you where it is. So here is the big picture of the overall Middle East, and we'll zoom into Kharg Island there, which is about 20 miles off of the coast of Iran. That is where most of the oil that comes out of Iran and goes through the Persian Gulf comes through. As we zoom in there, it's a massive oil facility there. And there are a lot of people who are saying, seize Kharg Island, you seize Iran's economic lifeline, and you also guarantee that oil may flow freely through the Strait of Hormuz. What do you think?
Well, I think this is clearly a way to economically strangle whatever's left of the Iranian regime. But you don't necessarily have to occupy that island or even the ports closer to the Straits of Hormuz if you actually have maritime dominance. And quite frankly, as soon as any threat from the shore is suppressed, there certainly isn't an air threat, then you have the same effect. Nothing leaves Iran unless the U.S. Navy allows it to leave.
Right. Just want to ask you one more question. This is about the question of whether Russia is sharing intelligence on American positions with Iran. Steve Witkoff was on CNBC earlier today. Here's what he said.
Yesterday on the call with the president, the Russians said that they have not been sharing. That's what they said. So, you know, we can take them at their word, but they did say that. Let's hope that they're not sharing.
All right. So he said, well, you can take them at their word. But when has it ever been prudent to take the Russians at their word?
No, absolutely not. In fact, there should be a very pointed response from the U.S. side that there'll be a consequence and a cost for whatever they do share, and the fact that we will know it.
Brent, always great to catch up with you. Thanks for your analysis. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Sandra?
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.